Hi, welcome back. In the previous lesson, I introduced you to the pick window, the single record picking window. In this lesson, we're going to look further into this window, and we're actually going to use it to pick first breaks. But first, I'm going to talk about a certain underlying concepts. One is the concept of grouping in this window, because it's a very important concept for how we pick first breaks and how we organize and move through the data. And I'm going to show you how to apply linear trends or linear move-out trends to the data. I'm going to show you how to pick peaks versus troughs, change the type of event we're picking, and show how we can change the actual trace display to fill troughs versus filling peaks. And then I'll show you various picking options. So to start with, we're going to open up a pick window. And again, this is the new pick window, the shot receiver bin plane, or what I'm calling, in this for the purpose of this class, the single record pick window. Because as you can see, we have other types of picking here, but this will pick in any shot, receiver, or bin. So here's the window, and it should look, when you bring yours up, it should look pretty much like this. It's map driven. So again, if I click around, you'll see that I'm moving from shot to shot on this map here. Now you also notice that I'm only looking at the traces associated with a single receiver line for each shot. Over here, you'll see that I actually have 6 receiver lines for this particular shot. So for the purpose of this lesson, I'm going to show all 6 simultaneously. The reason that these are showing one receiver line at a time is because we have grouping turned on. So what is a group? A group is whatever we define it to be. This icon up here in the upper left, has 3 people's heads here. That's our concept of a group. And as you can see right now, we are grouping using a header value. So in other words, we can define a group based on any criteria here, most of which don't make any sense. Like, for example, I could say I want to call receiver point number a group, and or northing, and so then when I go to the map here, it's a nonsensical type grouping. Or when I said the point number, for example, let's see here, and I go back to the map. Again, it's just not a grid organization. But doing it by receiver line number makes sense. In other words, for each shot, I'm going to look at my data in chunks associated with each receiver line. So let's go back to my receiver line number here, and then go back over to here to my map. And now we see one receiver line. And now one of 6. So if I click, I can look at 6 different receiver lines simultaneously, and I can also march down it with the arrow key. So I'm clicking with my mouse, or I can march up and down with my arrow keys, up and down arrow keys. Now for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to look at all 6 receiver lines simultaneously. So I'm going to turn the grouping off. And now you can see I have 6 receiver lines being displayed. And up top, the offset display shows you the offsets associated with each one of these receiver lines. And again, if I look at my map, you see now that I have, when I march across these, you can see the vector, the green vector line pointing at each of the receiver lines. Okay, so you should be pretty well oriented at this point. Now, let's apply linear move out. Now, on the previous lesson, you saw that we could actually apply linear move out quite easily this way, where we can say, look, I'm going to add a function here, or an operation, move out, and I'm going to apply linear move out. The velocity that it applies is 2,000 by default, and the velocities here are a lot faster than that, so let's slow it down to more like 6,500 or so, something close to that. And you can see this is a much more appropriate velocity. However, I want to apply a linear move out trend. So the linear move out only allows you to apply a constant velocity for all the shots and all the offsets. So if you had 2 or 3 refractors, this might not work that well. In fact, in this case, you can see that we flatten out this event here at the further offsets, but we have at inner offsets, at these inner receiver lines, we have another refractor. So we've only flattened one refractor, but let's say we wanted to flatten both refractors and do this across the survey. Well, one of the options you saw under here was move out LMO, move out trend. Okay, now the program doesn't prevent you from applying two different kinds of move out on top of each other. So let's, which would be kind of crazy. So let's just remove this one here and apply move out trend. Well, nothing happens. That's because we don't have a trend defined yet. To define a trend, we go to picking, and we're going to define a linear move out trend using traces. Now over here on the map, to the left on this window, you see these pink dots. These are those sparse CMP gathers that we created when we were building the geometry during the in the first lesson. In this case here, I use actually 3,000 foot spacing on the bin, on the grid. And what happens is, the advantage of this is, whenever I click on any one of these, I get instantaneous response, even on large surveys, because these traces have been selected in advance and they're already pre-sorted and everything. So we don't have to go searching our database. If we hadn't created these, then things would not be responding so crisply. So here I am. So let's go up here, and I'm going to set 4 branch assignments. I'm going to do, 4 linear move out trends. I'm going to do one here, 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 and here, for example. So what we have, we can do it like this. So I'm gonna go right down the trough, this first strong trough here. And when I double click, so I'm just click, 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 and then double click, finishes the curve, and we get 2 things. One is we get the actual curve itself, and then the other one is we get a zone. It's just more as a visual guide. Now, I can also do this with linear move out applied. So let me apply linear move out. And let's have a look at this in detail. So I'm going to lock my time axis from 0 to about 300. And let's expand this window so we can see better. And you can see I'm okay over here, but I'm going to reset this. Because I'm really trying to follow this trough. So I'm going to better define it like so. Now let's go up to here. And I'll do it again. Because the trough is what I'm going to want to pick here. So that's why I'm doing my alignment, or the trend through the trough. Now let's go down here. Let's say we set one down here. Now that it has 2 points, it's actually starting to interpolate these particular trends that I've created. And it shows you the zone, and it actually shows you the dashed line is the midpoint of the zone. And if it was adequate, we'd be fine. We would say, well, I don't have to reset it here because the actual interpolated value, the interpolated trend is what I want. But as you can see, I'm not quite there. I'm close, but not quite. And now let's look over here. And you can see that's pretty good. But I'm going to just to be safe, or just for the purpose of this lesson, I'm going to set it anyway. So at this point now, I have a linear trend that spatially varies around the survey. So this program's literally going to interpolate this everywhere. So when I apply linear trend in my traces, so I'm going to apply the changes now. Now when I apply this trend here, I need to click here to get another shot up to actually activate the trend. You can see that my first break is sitting, this first trough is sitting pretty close to 0. So let's change the axis a little bit here. I'll just let it zoom in from -300 to +300. No, I won't. I'm going to change that to -200 to 200. Just push enter. And again, I want to pick this trough. So let's look under pick options here. And you can see right now it's set to pick a peak. So I want to pick a trough. And because I'm picking the trough, I want to change the display to show the trough as a filled and not fill the peak. So that's under wiggle display options. I'm going to say I don't want to fill the positive. I do want to fill the negative, and I want to change the color to be black. Okay, so now I'm seeing pretty close to 0 the event I want to pick. So how do we pick? Well, we have many picking options here. I'm just going to be talking about interactive picking, where I'm going to be using my mouse and the keyboard to pick. So here, if I want to look at these several options that relate to picking. Add left, add right. As you can see, I've multiply defined some keys to do these, but add left, add right, kill left and kill right. Okay, so these are kill picks to the left and to the right of wherever my mouse is. I'll be showing you these in a second. And also control point add. The left mouse action is control point add. Okay, so let's start working with these. So right now, F is add both. So if I move my mouse to the middle here and I say F, I just type the key F, the program has picked in both directions from my mouse point. And as you can see here, it got off. So what's happened is, if you zoom in, you'll see with the right mouse button, with the right mouse if you click with the right mouse and drag, you actually drag a zoom box. And then if you want to unzoom, you right click without moving, and that unzooms all the way. We don't have an incremental unzoom. We have incremental zooming in, but we don't have an incremental unzoom. And that's the way we've written our software over the last few years, and several versions of our software. So that's just the way it is. So again, let's zoom in with my right mouse. I'm going to zoom in, and you can see what's happened. When I was tracking along here, the program just got lost and went down onto this other event, came back up, and at this point here, if I zoom in again, you'll see that when it got from here, at this point, it had a choice of going from here or here on this event, on this trace, this event or that event. This event must have been slightly closer to it in time than this, because that's the only criteria this program uses, this algorithm uses. It just finds the closest event on the next trace with the current move out applied, or the current whatever shifts applied. So the program got back onto the right track miraculously. And so if we wanted to, we could move and reset it here. But if I reset it here with the letter F, it's going to pick in both directions again. And now you see it got lost up here. So what we really want to do is we want to add left and add right. So I'm going to add right over here, and that's, as you can see, the letter K. So I'll move over to here, letter K. If I wanted to pick down here, I could do letter K here, letter K here. So let's pick on the wrong event here, because the purpose of this is not to get good picks right now. I just want to show you how to use the picker. So I've picked on the wrong event here. Now let's unzoom and see what happens. So here I am. I've unzoomed, and you can see that this event down here that I picked on the wrong, picked too deep, the mispicking only confined itself to the zoom window itself. In other words, the action of these picking options here are confined to the pick window, or the zoom window. So if I pick both here again, that was that letter F. If I go down here and pick F, and you can see it's totally getting lost to the left and right here. If I unzoom, you see that it confined itself to the traces that were in that zoom window. Now, let's say I just want to fix this without having to add right or add left. I can actually fix it with the mouse, where I can actually just click and then drag, click, and I'm dropping a rubber band. This is what we call rubber band. And then if I double click, it finds the closest event. That's because I defined the mouse to be control point add. And that's the default, by the way. So what are the other options? I want to kill to the right. Well, the letter M is I've got defined as kill to the right. Let's say you wanted the letter U to be kill to the right. You could go here down to the letter U, click in this space here with your left mouse, and say I want that to be kill right. So now if I go over to here and I type, let's say right here, if you can see my mouse, and I type the letter U, I kill to the right. Kill to the left I have is defined as kill as the letter L. So I can go here and type L and I kill to the left. We do not have an undo. So if you kill something you didn't mean to kill, you just have to repick it. And so what I did was I used my mouse to repick this event that's sitting on 0. Then there's one other option that might be of interest to you, and that's the pick on 0 time. So let's go to here, and you'll see that I have the letter Z right now programmed to be pick 0 time. What that means is pick the closest thing to 0. Don't try to track anything. Just pick the closest thing to 0. As you can see here, since we applied a spatially variable linear trend, the event that we want to pick is pretty close to 0 most of the time, and that option, this Z option that I have programmed to pick 0 time, works pretty well. Let's look at some other places. Let's do Z again. Okay, see a few mispicks here. Does that bother us? If it does, we can just clean them up like so. Again, see it's picking the closest thing to 0. It's got a few mispicks here. Again, the program's really not that sensitive to a few mispicks like that. It's actually fairly insensitive. So I wouldn't worry about these, but if you want, if you're a perfectionist, you can just clean them up with a few mouse clicks there. Now there's one related option that's called here. If I right-click here, it's called. Let me see if I can find it here. Pick cursor time. And I'm going to program that to letter Y. And pick cursor time is wherever the cursor is, it's going to find the closest event to that. So if I type Y here, you can see, like when I'm close to 0, it's essentially the same as pick on 0 time. But now it's picking cursor time. It's actually snapping to an event, is finding the closest event to my cursor. And I'm picking a trough, as you know, so it's finding the closest trough, which of course doesn't make much sense most of the time, but here it does. Anyway, so these are very related. This is always picking on 0, and this is picking wherever the time of the cursor is. And again, these events should confine themselves to the actual zoom box, the zoom window. So if I do Y here and pick cursor time and unzoom, you see that it was confined to the zoom window. Now the last thing I wanted to show you on this window is that you can also change the display. If you have lots of traces, like let's say you have more than 1,000 traces per shot, this window would show up as black if you were displaying all the traces. These traces would totally densely fill the window, and you would not be able to see very clearly the individual traces. So we have a option here called grayscale, and it only, as you can see in this red text here, it says grayscale display only available if horizontal axis is sort, which it is in this case, and I'll show you what I mean by sort here. Horizontal axis sort. See, it says sort here, and then the traces, and that forces the traces to space evenly. And when you do grayscale, you can see that we have, this will never turn in black. This will always just show a grayscale type display. So this is pretty useful when you have thousands of traces per shot and you want to look at all the traces. The wiggle traces themselves will fill the thing as a black space, but this will always show you what you need to see, but you still will want to zoom in to see more clearly what you're picking. Anyway, so that's the last thing I wanted to show you in this particular lesson. Thank you very much.